Vancouver News.
We didn't realize how close it was.
Hundreds of people are forced to leave their homes in BC as wildfires inch closer.
Provincial government in their own press release acknowledged that 6% or less are reporting to police.
And BC brings in new standards for treating sexual assault victims in police cases. What difference will they make? Good evening, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. Hundreds of people are out of their homes tonight because of a wildfire south of Kamloops. As Brady Strachan shows us, evacuees from blazes across the region are now showing up in that city as the fire dangers move south.
What do they say? Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
Shelley Friesen has everything that's important to her loaded in the back of her car.
Files, some bedding, clothes, necessities. Oh, too tired. My dog.
Yesterday evening, she and her parents were told to leave their property as the out-of-control fire threatened homes just south of Kamloops. The fire has exploded in size, now estimated at 25 square kilometers. As fire crews attack the blaze from the air and the ground, people forced to leave are coming into Kamloops to this evacuation reception center to register and to reflect on what they've been through.
Yeah, when we were leaving, we could see the glow of the fire.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah.
It really hit home then because
Yeah.
we didn't realize how close it was.
There are evacuees from other towns here. A fire over the weekend near Lillooet forced people from that community too. Some of them are now in Kamloops taking refuge.
Very stressful. It was hard to leave, and I was packed, and you know, you're expecting it, but when it actually happens, and
we had to put her down.
That's when you get mixed. You know, it's hard to concentrate.
As the fires burn out of control and smoke blankets the area, people here can only wait and hope that everything they've left behind will be there when they're finally able to return.
You know, if it all burns down, well, plan C. I don't know.
Brady Strachan, CBC News, Kamloops.
In the southeast part of BC, families in and around Cranbrook are watching the weather very closely. The forecast is calling for wind that could push the nearby wildfire closer to that city. Rihanna Schmunk has more on what crews are facing there.
This is the most that the public is able to see of the St. Mary's River wildfire today. Some white-gray smoke just off the side of the Crow's Nest Highway here north of Cranbrook, BC. And it does look calmer than it has in some time, but that doesn't mean that the danger has passed.
It is tricky with fires because when the fire lays down, it doesn't feel as visual, so it doesn't feel as, urgent sometimes to people as when they are seeing something that's more dynamic. But people are certainly aware that there is a fire in the area, and we're just encouraging anyone that's on alert to make sure that they're staying prepared and aware.
The wildfire here is currently at 40 square kilometers in size. Crews held the fire fairly well overnight, but the wind is now the issue. There's concern gusts of up to 50 kilometers an hour could push the flames to the southwest and closer to the city.
We're starting to see some of the sustained winds moving into the area, and we are expecting to see some gusty conditions this afternoon. So that is the sort of the big focus, not just for us in the Regional Emergency Operations Center, but obviously for the crews that are out in the field as well. It's a cold front that's coming in, and quite often the winds can be erratic and shifting when that system moves in. So that's one of the things we'll be paying very close attention to.
More than 670 properties are still on alert in and around the area around Cranbrook, and there are still 50 that are on evacuation order. There are also 7 families who have lost their homes in the nearby community of Ackham. Rihanna Schmunk, CBC News.
Vancouver is not going to renew the lease for an overdose prevention site downtown. That news comes as toxic drug deaths continue to climb across BC, with more than 180 people killed last month alone. As Joel Ballard reports, officials and police argue the site at Seymour and Helmkin has led to several issues, including a rise in crime.
The deadline is looming. This overdose prevention site needs to move out by March.
We've been hearing a lot of concerns from the community.
Those concerns stem from the number of people on the sidewalk. He says the site is too small, with no real waiting room or space for people to gather before and after accessing services. So they congregate outside the building.
Everything from fights outside the OPS, encampments, drug paraphernalia, needles, garbage, human feces on the sidewalk.
Since 2020, police say calls have increased from under 200 a year to almost 500. And advocates acknowledge a need for balance, but say the site is crucial.
This facility was put here because it's needed to, save lives.
Outside of the downtown east side, this area has the highest number of overdose deaths. Without the site, he says people will likely use alone. And these challenges, he says, highlight a much bigger issue, the lack of housing.
It becomes easier to blame harm reduction services than it is to actually change those other policies. People have absolutely no place to go.
Both the City of Vancouver and Meisner say they support harm reduction services and supervised consumption sites, but have offered no alternative location. Vancouver Coastal Health says it's disappointed, adding that the site has saved many lives and connected people at risk of overdose to essential healthcare supports and services. Meanwhile, not everyone at the city is on board with this move.
At the core, this space is saving lives.
This city councillor says avoiding a gap in services is crucial.
What I'm calling for is for the mayor and ABC majority to renew the lease on the Yaletown OPS until a better alternate site is found in the neighborhood so that we don't disrupt services and so that we don't see more people die.
Vancouver Coastal Health says it's already working to find a new site. Joel Ballard, CBC News, Vancouver.
The transit strike in the eastern Fraser Valley may be over, but you will have to wait a little bit longer before you board a bus.
We're definitely working on getting back on the road as soon as possible. We know that the residents of Fraser Valley have been without service for some time.
The union says several issues are causing the delay. Maintenance work has not been done in months, and refresher training is needed for the operators returning to work. The union isn't giving an exact timeline of when buses will be back up and running at full capacity. New BC-wide standards are coming in for how sexual assault victims are to be treated in police investigations, and millions of dollars is going to support programs that help survivors. Mira Bain says more on the plan and the criticism.
The province says new police standards will ensure more oversight and make sure sexual assault survivors aren't re-traumatized.
We want to make sure that that victims and survivors know whether they choose to report or not, that they are going to be believed, that their case is going to be thoroughly investigated, and that the supports that they need will be there for them.
He says older cases will also be reviewed to ensure mistakes weren't made and as a way of improving future investigations.
When we've got new standards in place, there's an opportunity to ensure that all cases are dealt with thoroughly. And if there are issues that need to be looked at, then that we're able to do that.
Advocates for sexual assault survivors say a major issue has been the lack of reporting to police.
Even the provincial government in their own press release acknowledged that 6% or less are reporting to police.
The hope of some organizations is that new police standards will help to hold police accountable.
To what extent can we think that the guidelines are going to impact the organizational culture, which is already problematic, and that has been very resistant to change when it comes to investigating sexual assault?
In addition to money for 68 new programs to support sexual assault survivors, 5 regional sexual assault centers are expected to open later this year. The centers are expected to provide wraparound services. BC Green Party MLA Adam Olsen says new sexual assault centers are an important step recommended by the Police Reform Act Committee.
These sexual assault centers that are being invested in are regional, meaning it requires people who have survived an incident like this to travel to these centers, which in some cases might be hundreds of kilometers away.
The new policing standards for sexual assault investigations go into effect in 2024. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Some UBC students are very worried about disappearing services at on-campus residences. Soon the buildings will no longer have front desk staff working overnight. As Yasmin Khanea reports, students say these changes make them feel less safe.
Starting August 1st, front desks at UBC residences will not be staffed from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. every day.
I think is a pretty huge safety concern.
I'd like it to be safe at night, especially because strange things happen at night.
UBC houses more than 13,000 students in 15 residences. The front desks are there to support residents in a number of ways, including calling for emergency assistance and helping students who are locked out of their rooms.
You go to get a new key, they can often walk you back to your building and help you get in. And now that won't be available at one of the most dangerous times of the day.
UBC says it's closing down overnight operations because of staffing challenges at night, leading to last-minute closures. It says even though the physical desks will be closed, there will be 3 overnight mobile teams in and around residents' areas ready to respond. In a statement, the Associate Vice President of Student Housing says by creating dedicated teams of overnight mobile staff, we will be able to improve service levels for students both during the day and at night. UBC says students can also call for help on blue phones stationed all around campus.
Yeah, I guess that's a bit of an inconvenience then if you really need something that urgent.
But for other students, it's not a big deal.
We really don't go out after 11 p.m.
But some students say they feel like they're getting fewer services even though they're paying more for rent. Students signed on to a rent increase in the spring in the range of 3.5% to 8%, depending on the type of unit.
Now, a few months later, we're having the services and amenities that are available to us decreased to 2/3 of what they were beforehand.
The university says the rent increases are necessary to cover inflationary costs, adding the safety and well-being of students is its top priority. Yasmin Ghaneya, CBC News, Vancouver.
The waters off the northeast side of Vancouver Island have been feeling balmy lately, and that is bad news for kelp. Temperatures in the northeast Salish Sea have been reaching 21 degrees or higher. That's 2 to 3 degrees more than kelp can endure, so entire forests from Denman Island to Campbell River have died. Experts say these marine heat waves are changing the face of our provincial shorelines.
BC coastal ocean will be warmer, not just at the surface, but it turns out during El Nino years, it actually gets warmer at the bottom of the Strait of Georgia.
Climate scientists are assessing the impact, looking for clues as to what other damage the warmer waters may cause to local ecosystems. We have some happy news to share with you about one of our beloved colleagues. Scientist, meteorologist, seismologist Johanna Wagstaff is a mom again. Annika Ridley Wagstaff Stadden was born on July 20th. Mom and baby are doing very well, adjusting to their new expanded family. Johanna says no one is prouder than Annika's big brother, Wesley, naturally. Congrats to Johanna, Wesley, Tristan, and of course, Rodney. It is so awesome. Love to you all. We set out to find BC's best lake with our bracket master, Justin McElroy. After the break, some of the first round heavy hitters. You want to see this? Thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream tonight. Crowds gathered over the weekend to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the signing of the Korean Armistice Agreement, which ended over 3 years of fighting during the Korean War. And as Yasmin Gandam reports, some are now planning to travel back to Korea to see the effects of their sacrifice.
Tears, smiles, laughter, and music, as many remember the courage and sacrifice of those who served in the Korean War 70 years ago.
Thank you for your service in the past so that we can enjoy freedom, safe, and peace today.
A children's choir sang both the Korean and Canadian national anthems as many veterans wiped tears and sang along. The Korean War started 73 years ago, when 75,000 North Korean troops invaded the South. The United Nations had just been created, and soldiers from 60 nations, including Canada, were sent to fight.
It is our duty to honor and remember 26,791 brave Canadian soldiers who rushed to Korea to defend freedom and democracy on Korean Peninsula.
More than tens of thousands of Canadians fought alongside South Korea, while several thousand served in peacekeeping duties. More than 500 Canadians never returned home. A joint Canada-Korea wreath was laid at the base of the memorial, with veterans and their families laying poppies on the monument. Many veterans getting ready to go back to South Korea to express gratitude and see how the country enjoys peace today.
Oh, this is probably my last one. I've been on several of these revisits and so on, and it's always wonderful to go back to the country. It's amazing what the Koreans have done with the country since the war.
For others, it's a memory of a difficult time filled with mixed emotions.
If I had to do it again, I would, but with a different objective in my mind. I was only a young kid when I went over there for the 2 years, and my mind has changed a lot of saying, I should have done this and I should have done that. But war is never the answer.
Their numbers dwindling. Veterans say they want their sacrifice and contributions to be remembered. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Burnaby.
Tis the summer, as we know, and of course, a big BC pastime is hitting the lake for some fun and some sun. We here at CBC BC thought, why not add to the fun?
We declared Metro Vancouver's best neighborhood, we crowned BC's best small town, and now we're diving in to award the title of BC's best lake. It's the search for BC's best lake. Head to cbc.ca/bestlakebc to sign up to win the ultimate CBC Lake prize package.
And joining us is the mastermind behind the Lakes competition, Bracket Master Flash, Justin